It's the county conversation. We're a week into the One Day Cup, and we've had some superb and fascinating performances that myself, Cameron Ponsonby, and the cricketers, Nick Friend, my favourite of all the Nick Friends personally, are going to take you through. We have a conversation with James Rew coming up, and just to be touching on that kind of wider theme of the youngsters who are growing up. James Rew, 20 years old, now the vice captain of Somerset. We're going through some of the youngsters at Essex as well, who Nick spoke to early this week. Before, after the James Rew conversation, we'll be going through some of the kind of the spinners that are coming through this competition already. Tom Hindley at Worcestershire bowling some left arm wrist spin. Jack Leach, you might have heard of him, used to play for England, took six for, and Ben Kellaway bowling left arm and right arm. Exciting stuff. Anyway, first things first, Nick, the Metro Bank. I've always kind of laughed at you when you said this, when you've gone, it's not a development competition. It's a competition that provides development opportunities. And I believe you'll be expanding on this point here in that basically we've got a bunch of youngsters who have started the competition very well and who all of a sudden, rather than being the person who just needs to stand there and play, they have to be a main person of the team.
I've got you drinking the Metro Bank juice. Like that's long been my theory with this competition, that it's not second team cricket, because if you've seen second team cricket, then you would know this is not it. There are people here for a start. You might be able to hear the ripple. I'm outside at Derbyshire v Worcestershire today, which is a top table clash, which would surprise some people certainly. Derbyshire are pretty strong in this. Worcestershire are only missing one player to 100, but they've got so many injuries at the moment that their bowling attack is a proper mishmash of sort of worlds coming together. Hisham Khan's come through Saka, the South Asian Cricket Academy. Harry Darley's an academy seamer. Jack Holmes, an 18-year-old seamer who I believe out back is sitting on a fourth at the moment. And then you mentioned Hindley, who is my favourite kind of cricketer, the correct kind of cricketer, a left arm wrist spinner.
Cricketer, of course.
Spins the right way, does the fun stuff. And I think everyone's saying was a batter at Sussex beforehand. But no, get back to your point. I don't know. I mean, Hindley's the kind of guy who was sort of, I don't know, like maybe he's 23, but maybe he's kind of what I mean. Like it's a competition that's presented opportunities caused by players missing the hundreds in the main. But I don't know, like it's that a lot of players in the last few years have found themselves in much more secure spots for their counties, at the very least, on the back of having good one-day cups, excelling in roles that perhaps they hadn't had before. Sir Andrew Mead was on the PCA and the Cricketers Under the Lid podcast earlier this week. I'd say very similar stuff to me that he said. Saying very similar stuff that he said to me last year about how the biggest thing the one-day cup's done for him is remove this layer that was on him for years as this sort of stodgy, slow scorer. Because I think it was 2017, he made one of the slowest ever county championship hundreds, if not the slowest.
It was the slowest, wasn't it?
It was the slowest. And that was kind of all that anyone knew him for 6 years. We left the game, was working in furniture delivery for a while, went to Australia, spent some time in Spain. And if you mentioned Andrew Mead, all you knew him for was this. But I remember him coming out at the start of last season in a warm-up game before the Champions started, just when sort of Bazball was taking off just as Bazball was about to enter its first full county summer, 2023 season, and Mead had a massive slash, like his third ball of the pre-season red ball warm-up. Was caught a slip, and everyone was sending it to a couple of people being like, what on earth have I just seen? And a couple of guys said that this is genuinely much closer to how he bats than the Andrew Mead that people know about. He then went and scored 600 runs in last season's One Day Cup. He's got 100 already in this year's One Day Cup. And he's a snapshot, and certainly not a youngster, but he's a snapshot of what this competition has done. It is for him, it is sort of, I don't know, like corrected, he would say, the perception of his game. But for a lot of other players, if you mentioned Rew as vice captain, he'd never played a List A game until the first year of the Royal London, as it was then, in its current form. The first year it clashed with 100 in 2021. Yeah. So he's played 25 List A games. He's Somerset's vice captain. Tom Clark, who's played 20 List A games, started in the same year, 2021. So he only knows 50 over cricket from playing in this, slightly unusual competition, let's say. He's captaining Sussex at the moment with John Simpson missing for Sussex. And And yeah, so like it does an awful lot of development for you. John Turner was on no one's radar until the One Day Cup 2 years ago. Ran in, bowled fast, took 20 odd wickets. And he's got an England pace development contract now. Now, I mean, I reckon Eddie Jack is probably not far behind. He's another Hampshire youngster. He's been clocked at 90-ish in this year's competition. He's an England under-19 bowler, therefore will be on radars, as will Dom Kelly, who's also under-19 at Hampshire and playing this comp. But it does speed up your development, and it does also mean that, say, Hampshire is a pretty good example of this, that when Kyle Abbott, Mohammed Abbas, Keith Barker, all near the end of their careers at the start, retire, then you do have a few guys who have played a fair bit more cricket than they otherwise would have done if this competition was, and that's not why the competition was set up, but it is I'd say like a useful byproduct of it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
You speak to a lot of players basically involved in the competition. Do the players themselves privately believe it's a first team competition, or do they? Yeah, I know publicly they'll go, "Oh yeah, it's the ones," but is there a different privately held opinion?
I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. I think, and I don't. But no, I rephrase that. I don't think anyone thinks it's a twos comp, because there are a lot of things that you just get in twos cricket that you don't get in this. I mean, also other way around. You get crowds in this. For example, you know where the games are. If you want to, we're both, badgers of a sort. And if you want to go to a twos game, you need to go looking for that twos game. They are, they're you see things in Saint cricket that are mad. It's always, there's a load of trialists. Often you're playing with 12. Often someone's leaving to go and play a ones game, midway through the match. Some of them are played on shocking pitches. Like there was a T20 between Middlesex and Sussex earlier this season. I think down at Horsham, where it was 50 plays 50 for 7, and it's
a good game.
People apologised at the end of it for what they'd been dragged down to play on. It's so no, I don't think people think it's a second team tournament. I guess how you take it from there depends on the position your county finds itself in. I interviewed Mark Decker, who's Kent's interim coach for this comp, while Matt Walker's at the 100. Now, Decker played Test cricket for Zimbabwe. He's been Kent's twos coach. He's been Kent's women's coach. He's had a lot of roles. And he said to me, he put it really nicely, actually. He said, "You are disrespecting the competition if you're not trying to win it. But winning it comes in two forms, nuanced forms. Winning it is winning it, but winning it is also coming out with genuine successes. So that if you've thrown a young lad in, they do well enough that they become an option for the Blast or for the Championship, or they really enhance their prospects." So that's the developmental side of it, in that no teams are full strength. Some are closer than others, and the ones that are closer than others, the ones who probably look at this as a genuine trophy opportunity. Now, Leicestershire weren't tweeting last season, "Come along and watch our twos in the final of the Metro Bank." Leicester ahead of their semi-final called it the biggest game of so it was their biggest game of the last decade, and that is So I think we might have said on here last week that it's almost got that like Europa Conference League vibe to it, in that it is a bit more than the League Cup, the Carabao Cup as well, that I've heard sort of pitched as it before. But I think the Conference League.
So you said that. That was you.
Yeah, I've heard other people say it too.
Okay, but you don't agree with it when they say it. That's fine.
No,
okay.
I think the Conference League is I did agree with that, but I think actually I can't remember who said it to me, but I think the Conference League is a slightly better analogy, in that the teams who treat it as a massive opportunity to win tend to be your West Hams, clubs who can't go in with the Premier League, with the way that it is these days, and so I think a lot of players really enjoy it. I think a lot of players also really enjoy 50 over cricket. And actually, particularly the way this competition has worked. Don't get me wrong, there'll be others who don't. There will be some who are turning up thinking, "Oh, it's an outground, it's playing against a bunch of kids," and that there is the odd mismatch in this competition, like absolutely, no doubt. But no, it's 50 over cricket in this competition interesting as well, because with the players who are involved, because you're missing the 100 best white ball players in the country, right? So a lot of the guys involved are red ball players. So you do end up with this 50 over game that, with the balls as well, swinging quite a lot early doors, doing a lot, with red ball seamers as well. You end up with this situation where you've got a lot of guys where a lot of the game is it feels a bit more red ball cricket than T20 cricket. If that makes sense.
I think it feels like ODI cricket pre 2015. That's the kind of vibe I get with this kind of
and yet you do get
injection of power where someone actually starts like clearing the ropes, basically.
Exactly. You do get a few massive scores. I think I calculated earlier, talk about Badgery, I calculated earlier the average first innings score at the outgrounds in this year's competition.
Wow. Here we go.
So it was before today, it was 7 completed games, and the average first innings score was 254, which has been brought down by a game I was at actually on Wednesday at Beckenham between Kent and Hampshire, where Hampshire bowled out for 170. Deck wasn't bad, but two teams bowled pretty well. It felt like quite red ball-y. Fletcher Middleton caught behind, leaving. Pitched a bit of bounce in it. I don't know. So the development thing is really interesting. I think there is a lot of development in it, but the development is almost a necessity because of who's available, if that makes sense.
Sure.
But as a competition, you've still got a certain number of teams who, like every team will say they can win it, but there are a certain number of teams who are absolutely setting out to win it because in some cases it can salvage a season. I think as we talked about before, but in other cases, you might not have won anything in years. And it's a great opportunity to win something.
On the topic of kind of where that hybrid part of it, people like wanting to give the opportunities to people, but also like the route to success not necessarily being silverware. I think Essex are a very good example of that type of side at the moment, where between Benkenstein, Noah Thane and Charlie Allison, you have 3 lads who have all played England under-19s together, or basically played all their cricket together. It's a really nice story in terms of when I look at kind of tales. I don't necessarily feel jealous of people who are professional cricketers. I feel jealous of when you see instances of people growing up together and kind of forming and living out a dream together, and that's what these three 19-year-old lads are doing. You spoke to all 3 of them together earlier this week, and kind of
good laugh.
It was I'm sure it was. Well,
they were really.
The question I want to ask about it though is they are, if they played individually in the team, the kids, about the youngster in the block who might bat 6 or might bat 7, be second change and just there for experience. Now they make up a quarter of the team between the 3 of them, and they in effect have to step up and win matches.
Yes. Is that a question?
Well, yeah, it was just like more of a
lead-in statement.
Exactly.
No, completely. They are. There was a good Ed Barnard on this podcast last week made a really good point, really interesting point actually, and said that he'd actively used Ed Barnard's the captain at Warwickshire, Hamza Sheikh is England under-19 Test captain, and he said, if you remember, that he'd actively used Hamza and gone up to him and said, right, and got his advice and suggestions on how to bowl the younger players in his side, who generally, whether it's 2s cricket or England 19s cricket, or even just county edge cricket, Hamza had probably seen more of than Ed Barnard. And there's been,
quite funny,
if you take that, and I mean, Luke Benkenstein's England under 19s ODI captain. Same there. Tom Wesley's used Luke, Charlie Allison, Noah Thane, not just for that, but they've also just been big on. We'll get this. We sort of touched this earlier, but I guess this is where James Rew's sort of vice captaincy is interesting, in that you become quite old in this competition very quickly. So it's these guys have played for a year already in first team cricket because they played in last year's comp. Thane has played a Champo game. Benkenstein, Allison both have blast 50s. Nearly dragged Essex through to a quarter final off their own bats from 50 for 5, chasing 180, got 50 each, and nearly got them home against Hampshire in the last game of the group stage. You grow up quite fast this competition because actually suddenly, so I was saying to them during this conversation, like we're sat here with you 3 as 3 19-year-olds, the youngest lads at Essex, but on the same day as we were talking, got James Minto, for example, at Durham, 16-year-old kids. Making his, I think he'd made his debut for Durham 2 days earlier. 16-year-old left-arm seamer Rocky Flintoff made his debut at 16 for Lancs. They youngster player. Farhan Ahmed, who's 16 as well, I think, has played with the 3 Essex guys with England 19s. He's played for Notts, I think, either in the warm-up game or
Farhan Ahmed's played a couple of the games this
competition. Prop. I mean, so suddenly, like you're the 19-year-olds, but like you're not the to borrow the old David Mitchell meme, like it's like, are we the oldies or something? You're not the
We the old ones.
Like they're not the kid. Like, and you grow up quickly in this, in the game. And it was Luke Benkenstein who actually said, like, put it really nicely and said it will probably only properly click for them that is the case when Essex signs someone younger. But he did also say that, like, playing with Farhan, Rocky, and Tom Rew, actually James's brother, with England 19s, like there is this moment when you're like, geez, like, they're so young. And that's what we're sat here looking at the 19-year-olds playing, thinking, take someone like, Benkenstein and Charlie Allison, who've both got, older family in the game. James Rew, I think, as I say to him in this chat, it doesn't feel fair that you've got a younger brother in the game. Like you're not old enough to have a younger brother playing. But the Essex lads are great. And the thing you said there about growing up together, they really have done. Charlie and Noah have played together since they were 12, since Noah stepped on. Like, Charlie remembers the first time they met was Noah Thane stepping on his hand in a slip catching exercise as 12-year-olds, putting a spike through his finger. Luke Benkenstein and Noah Thane lived together down the road from Chelmsford. They've tried to get Charlie in. Charlie lives at home with the family home with the Allisons. They really have grown up together. They bat 3, 4, and 5 together for England 19s. They bat 5, 6, and 7 in this competition. But a year on, the big thing they said is that they're not. Last year was about being there, and being the kids and finding your feet. But this year they've been told to, like, you've done this now.
Step up,
win us some games. And it was convenient, actually. The day after I spoke to them, Thane and Benkenstein both made 50s against Leicestershire. They both bowled as well. And Charlie Allison he's got 4 50s in 11 list A innings or something, which is, whatever the comp looks like, that's a really good effort for an 18-year-old kid.
And on the topic of people stepping up, we have now got the James Rew, we've got the Somerset vice-captain of the Metro Bank 11, guiding the likes of Jack Leach, holding his hand through the 10-over spell. James Rew. Here is Nick's chat with James Rew right now.
Hello and welcome to this latest episode of the Cricketers County Conversation podcast. We're joined today by Somerset. I was going to say the older Rew, but Tom's not technically made his debut, has he? Joined by James Rew, who is suddenly, like, gone from being one of the younger players in the circuit to the older brother of another potential Somerset player. How's it going? I guess we're here to predominantly talk One Day Cup stuff. How have you found it? How are you tracking, as they say, in the middle of August? I guess your second full season kind of thing. I mean, how are you?
Yeah, well, good to be into the One Day Cup now. I've had 3 games and we've had a good start, 2 from 3. Home first game against Kent. We saw another masterclass from Andrew Mead, the king of the One Day Cup at the moment. He got 80 against Hampshire as well on Friday, was it, or Sunday? And Sunday. We unfortunately lost that game away to Hampshire, but a good win at home. Mead with a big not out 100, and then unfortunately didn't quite get over the line against Hampshire. They chased quite a low total on a difficult wicket, and then we managed to bowl Durham out quite cheaply on another difficult wicket. So it's been good. Change of format I've really enjoyed. Enjoy getting into it. But season's been good fun, nice and exciting so far.
You mentioned Andrew. I remember speaking to him last year during the comp about gunning it. How's he do it? What's he done to be as dominant as he has? I mean, he's not the only one. Obviously, Ed Barnard had a brilliant year last year. He's doing the same again. Like, I don't know. Like, what is there seems to be like an inevitability about the way he goes about it in this competition.
Yeah, I think it's just how simple he keeps it and how hard he makes it for people to get him out. And once he gets past the new ball, it's just like he just really values his wicket and values his runs for the team, and kind of takes it upon himself to bat through and kind of be the backbone of that batting lineup for the team, and just really look to keep keep going and never give his wicket away. I think it's not. It is slightly selfish, but you have to do that for the team. He's doing it to help the team. So I love how he sees the game and takes it upon himself to kind of lead us towards high totals. And when he didn't do that at Durham, and Lewis Goldsworthy took over and he batted most of the 50 overs and got 93. So that was a huge innings for us. Actually, he wasn't very happy when he came off. He thought he kind of scratched around out there and made himself look a bit silly, but it was actually a really difficult wicket, and to get 240 on that was very, very dependable, and we bowled unbelievably and bowled them out for 100.
You mentioned Jack. I mean, how I don't know, like everyone knows how good he is. I guess particularly red ball cricket. Like how cool. I guess and obviously he's not played that much this year with the injury start of the season. And how cool is it to I don't know, like to watch him up close, to get to watch someone of that quality experience. So even in white ball cricket, he was, a couple of those wickets yesterday were properly just like ragging past the outside edge, weren't they? A proper left arm spin. It's good fun to have the view that you've got, and to I guess to be playing alongside him as much as anything.
Yeah, well, to have his experience in the team first of all is massive. It's obviously a young team in this competition because we lose 11 players to the 100. So for the boys to be around the players like the quality that he's got and the experience that he's got is really, really important for us as a team. But to watch him up close is so special. I mean,
do you enjoy keeping to him?
Yeah, I love it, especially on a turning wicket like we had yesterday. I haven't actually kept him on many big spinning wickets because obviously at Taunton we've struggled to make it spin in the last couple of years, and I mean most of the time, most of the games I've played as a professional cricketer have been either seaming wickets or pretty good batter friendly wickets. I've never really got on a big spinning wicket, so that's probably the first time I've really kept a nut, and I've seen him spin the ball big, and like it felt like he was going to take a wicket every ball, and the class that he's got really showed in that game. He was just attacking off stump every single ball, and when the ball's skidding or spinning like that, it is almost impossible to bat on. And he took 6 for 27, I think, in his 10 overs, and took 2 in his first over, 2 in his third, and it's just made some of the batsmen look quite silly, really.
And you obviously came out of it with 4 catches, 3 off him. So you obviously coped. I don't know. Is it fun as a keeper? I mean, you're in quite a cool position as I guess the keepers at Somerset. I mean, having Jack and Shoaib Bashir, and like you've got the 2 England spinners. It must be quite nice to keep both of them. I guess they're probably slightly different challenges. Obviously, spinning different ways. Shoaib's a bit taller than Jack, but I don't know. Like how do you find him? And do you get to train much with him as well in that, or is most of your training with the bat and sort of keeping stuff done separately with coaches and stuff?
I think I train both equally. And when I do get the opportunity to catch to those 2 test spinners, I take it and try and get someone in there to shadow bat, get in front of me, make a bit of distraction, and try and catch as many balls off them as I can, because you don't only benefit from that because it's the most realistic thing you can do as a keeper is catching your own bowlers.
What are the challenges that they bring? Obviously, presumably with Jack, it's that you're sort of looking at the outside edge, but he can skid that one through, and I guess with Shoaib, you've just got the extra bounce from being 6 foot.
Yeah, Shoaib is very bouncy. You have to be able to catch a lot of balls like chest high, shoulder high, and Leachy's got one couple that skid on, and then ones that spin as well. I mean, at Taunton, I haven't kept to either of them on big spinning wickets, so it would be nice if we could get them together this year. I don't know how much bash is going to be available for us, but it'd be nice if we could get them together on a spinning wicket and Yeah, that would be a good partnership to see. But yeah, it's obviously good fun. I think it's more enjoyable and easier actually keeping when it's to Lucci when the ball's spinning more, because you feel in the game and you know you're going to get the ball more often than when it's kind of flatter wicket and the ball skids on. Most of the time he's bowling at the stumps and the batsmen are playing almost every ball, and then one maybe spins past the edge and it comes out of nowhere. Yeah, when there's consistent spin, it probably does make it a little bit easier.
How have you found this year? I remember when we spoke at the PCA dinner last year, at the start of it. You were quite conscious of saying that you wanted to put together what you'd done in a couple of months last year into a complete season. How have you found that? I guess people talk about sort of like that second season syndrome kind of thing, where where like guys know your game slightly better, and I guess that the expectation level's a bit different. With England over Lions over the winter and stuff. But how have you found that coming back this year and going again?
Yeah, it's been obviously challenging. It's never easy, and the stats probably say this year that I haven't done as well, and it doesn't really feel that way. I think as a team we've batted better generally in the Championship. We've had people stand up. Tom Lammonby especially played really well, and obviously Ooms has done really well, and Bance has had an unbelievable season for us.
Yeah,
it's really good to see him kind of finding his own way in red ball and going out there and playing how he wants to play and scoring a lot of runs. So yeah, I found myself going in a few different situations this year. I feel like last year,
a lot of the time last year you were in quite early sort of firefighting jobs, wasn't it?
Yeah, I felt last year I was in before lunch quite a lot, 4 down for not very many, and yeah, it gives you more time to kind of build an innings, try and absorb a bit of pressure, give yourself a lot of opportunity to get in and kind of rebuild some partnerships. But when the run rate is flying and we're kind of coming in 200 for 4, you don't want to be building the same sort of innings. You need to be kind of keep the pressure on the bowlers and pushing the rate along and looking to make games, set up results and stuff, especially if you're playing on good wickets. You don't want to be hanging around and taking time away from your bowlers. So yeah, I found this year I've played in a few different situations. It's been good because we've scored as a team. We've scored really well, really quickly, and set results up, and we've obviously won quite a few games, which has been really exciting.
Do you feel like teams, have clearer plans against you than they might have done this time last year?
I don't know. I don't think it's any different. I guess generally with all batsmen, you just try and hit.
Yeah, true.
Try and hit off stump. Try and move it away, move it back in. If I miss it or nick it, then I'm out. So yeah, I don't think it's been that much different. It doesn't feel like there's been any specific plans to me, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel too much different. I've gone about it the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe look to be a tiny bit more positive, especially when I'm coming in a better situation. And so yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure really if much has changed. Just haven't really got the same outcomes this year, but that's not really a problem for me. I'm just going to keep trying to do what I've been doing and keep moving forward.
Probably quite a handy thing to have early on in your career, if you know what I mean, in terms of having one massive year and then having a more normal year the year afterwards, because I guess that is, in a way, that is the game in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, and definitely puts you back in your place and realise that last year was very special, and if it's going to happen again, it will probably be very rare, and I'm going to have to play really well to have a year like that. But yeah, it's good, and I'm glad that other people have stepped up this year, and it's good to see people that have struggled for the last few years do really well. So yeah, I'm really proud of like Bance and Lammers especially, and yeah, especially as Lammers is batting batting at 3 where the ball's moving around and swinging is tough up there, and I've got so much respect for him and everyone that bats in the top order. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit easier down at 6. So yeah, a lot of respect for those guys.
It's been nice. I mean, One Day Cup last year was, I think you'd all say yourselves, like a tough, a pretty tough learning curve at times. On the wrong end of a couple of brilliant knocks, first and foremost. Like, to be 2 from 3 this year with a similarly young team, but I guess a lot of guys a year up, and everyone's obviously a year older, but a lot of guys now playing their second year in this rather than their first year. Like, how? Yeah, I don't know. How have you found it as a side? Like, you've got, yeah, I mean, obviously there was a pretty short game last year, the James Rew game last year, and you were a pretty youthful, inexperienced attack mainly. Like, I don't know. Like, has it been nice this year to be able to? I mean, certainly being 2 from 3, like, does it feel like a certain amount of indication for, I don't know, the development that had to go into last year?
Yeah, well, obviously I don't want to speak too soon because we still got 5 games left. So it would be nice for no one to score a double 100 against us this year. But, yeah, we did struggle a bit last year. I think in white ball cricket, in 50 over cricket especially, when someone gets going,
Yeah,
during the middle overs when you've only got 4 men on the boundary and kind of the class of Prithvi Shaw especially, and James Rew obviously had an epic knock against us as well. It's tough to stop them sometimes, and there's not much you can do. You can obviously rotate your bowlers and try lots of different things, but if it's not your day and they're playing well, then there's nothing you can really do sometimes. So, but yeah, this year we started off really, really well with the ball. I feel that was probably kind of our downfall a little bit last year. Obviously, we probably didn't bat well enough, but it's difficult when you're chasing 450 plus. So, but yeah, our young seamers have really bowled well up top, and then mainly been our spin so far. Obviously, with the experience of Jack Leach, but Lewis Goldswell, he's a fine young left arm spinner, and Archie Vaughan bowled beautifully in the first game at Taunton. He's a good off spinner.
Can I ask? I've asked everyone this who played in that game, including like Northants players as well. And what was it like? I remember speaking to Andy Mead last year about after the Prithvi Shaw game. I don't know. It's like, obviously you're on the wrong end of it. It's a long time in the field. Like, is there any bit of you that is able to, I don't know, in the heat of the moment, or I guess probably more likely in hindsight, just reflect on how, like how good a guy is when they're doing it against you, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I think that Prithvi Shaw innings was special, and I was just sat there thinking, like, wow, you can tell this guy's an unbelievable talent, and you can see why he's played international cricket. And but yeah, there was a part of me that's like, just like watching the innings in awe, and
you had the best view in the house, I understand.
Yeah, exactly. When you know almost they've gone out of reach, and the game it's obviously going to be tough to chase, but yeah, it's just nice to kind of, I know it's tough watching that and watching the boys go the distance with the ball, but it's nice to kind of see the amount of talent and the shots that they're playing from that. Yeah, the best seat in the house, as you mentioned.
Yeah, you mentioned Archie Vaughan. I mean, what's he like? I mean, obviously he had. I mean, talk about learning how brutal the game this is. Obviously he was run out without facing it on strike then for without on debut, wasn't he? Like, how's he settled in, and what's he? You mentioned his off spin there. I guess he's predominantly a batter, isn't he? But I mean, how impressed have you been early on with him?
Yeah, I played a lot of cricket with him in the twos, bit of under 18 stuff. Seen him a lot over the last few years. He was obviously a Millfield boy as well, so played against him a little bit at school. So I know how good he is, and I know that he's got a lot of potential in this game, and he'll play a long time for Somerset, hopefully. So yeah, it would be nice to see him get a few in this competition, but obviously there's no pressure on him at all. He's got loads of time, and next few years I'm sure he'll do really well for the club. But yeah, he's an immense talent, and yeah, it would be nice to see him get a few this competition.
Did you have a laugh and a joke after the run out? I guess
yeah,
you can do.
Can't take it too seriously, can you, on debut? But it's lucky he got bowled a lovely spell with the ball.
Yeah,
I think it was 6 overs for 16,
16, yeah.
Through the middle, and really just stemmed the flow of runs and kind of brought us into that game. Really, they were flying, and I think Jack Leach took a couple of wickets, and then Varney came on and really slowed the run rate down. And so yeah, that was a key moment for us in that first game against Kent.
And just finally, on another youngster you mentioned at the top of this, I mean, what's it like having your brother knocking around? I mean, you feel you feel too young to have like there'd be another Rew coming along, if you know what I mean. Like you've not spent enough time as the youngster yet. I mean, what's tell us about him. What's he? He's another keeper as well, isn't he?
Yeah, wicket keeper batsman as well. He's still only just done his GCSE, so he's got a couple of years left at school. So hopefully he'll be signed by Somerset in the future, but probably won't be for a few years yet. Fingers crossed. But yeah, he's played a lot of two stuff this year. Played
England 19.
Yeah, he made his England under-19s debut about a month ago against Sri Lanka in a home series, and yeah, he's playing for Somerset under-18s. It's good to see him, and he actually played the 2 warm-up games as well with this.
Yeah,
he played one of the warm-up games against Cornwall in this competition. So yeah, it's good to play alongside him, especially with the Wyvern on the chest, and hopefully I'll play with him for Somerset in a few years' time.
Is he? Who's better? I was going to say who's better. Is he? Is there much family sort of sibling rivalry going on there? Or?
Well, when we were obviously playing cricket on the same day, we always kind of come home and tell each other that whoever got more runs on the day and stuff like that. And but yeah, it's just friendly. Kind of, I want him to do well and play for Somerset in the future. So yeah, I hope he keeps doing as he's doing, and he's obviously still really young, so he's got hopefully a few more years playing for England under-19s, and yeah, I just hope to see him kind of keep going upwards and yeah, keep showing what he can do.
I'm just asking, I mean, how do two brothers, how does a family produce 2 keepers? Like, who's bowling? I mean, sorry, someone's got to throw the balls down at the end of the garden. I mean, like, what was that dynamic like as two keepers in the same? I don't know. Presumably both wanted to keep. Presumably both wanted to bat. I mean, someone's got to bowl, isn't there?
I don't really know how that came about, to be honest. I guess because when we'd net as youngsters, Dad would just used to throw balls at both of us, and I don't think either of us really had any interest in bowling. Just always wanted to bat. So yeah, I became a keeper, and then
you bowled a first class over, haven't you?
I have, but I would not class myself as a bowler. I struggle to get it to the other end, actually. But yeah, Thomas, I don't really know how he became. I think he just kind of enjoyed watching me keep, or I don't really know how it came about. But yeah, I think he sees himself as a batter as well, and then he's obviously he is a really good keeper, but I don't think he minds fielding too much, and just loves batting.
Thank you very much to Somerset Vice Captain James Rew for his time. He obviously was behind the stumps for Jack Leach taking his best ever career list A figures. I think it was 6 for 26 off 10. It looks so kind of, what's the word, conspicuous when you kind of, there's so many new players that you don't recognise in this competition, and then you see someone like Jack Leach pop up and you go, I've watched you play so much cricket, and I really implore that if you haven't seen the highlights of his spell, you go and check them out, because there are 3 or 4 absolute beauties in there, including my personal favourite. He clean bowls, I think it's Baz the leader, and the umpire raises his finger to give it out. I thought it was a really lovely touch.
I also think Leach has real Ollie Robinson, the Blast vibes, and that it just doesn't look quite right watching them play in coloured clothing. Do you know what I mean?
Still only played, I think it's 1 T20, or maybe he's played 1, 2 or 3 T20s in his career, which I always find quite interesting, because I don't see what's be prevented. Anyway, that's a different conversation.
7 T20s.
From 7, I beg your pardon. I'm
Once
very
upon a time,
sorry to everyone. But to go from one left armour to another, I think would be we'd be amiss or remiss of one of those words of us. So it'd be remiss of us, I think, to not mention Ben Kellaway at Glamorgan, who kind of stole the show a little bit halfway through this week, bowling left-handed and right-handed against Surrey and throughout
Not
the
at the same
competition.
time, crucially.
I was shocked.
It's not the hammer throw.
I was shocked and disappointed in you, Nick, that you'd been beaten to this story. I was commentating for Surrey when he changed hands, and I must admit, I didn't know he did that, and I whacked it into Google, and oh my goodness me, I can't remember the journalist's name. Richard Edwards has written the piece to say that this is basically something he has done. He taught himself during lockdown, having been a right-arm off spinner, and him and his brother just learn it for a laugh. My question to you is, Nick,
why did I do it?
why didn't you write the story? And B, are we about to see an avalanche of ambidextrous bowlers in the sport?
Oh, it was great work from Rich, I should say. Because I was.
How he found out?
Well, that's what I mean. I was familiar with Ben Kellaway, but I can only assume that he went and watched Glamorgan 2s or something. I went straight on his, as I'm sure you did, went straight on Ben Kellaway's Quick Info profile, and it says nothing about left arm, right arm there. He's a right arm off break bowler and a right arm bat. There was absolutely no reason to think otherwise. Are we about to see an avalanche? Not that many people have followed Liam Livingstone, have they?
But I genuinely think that's less interesting.
No, less interesting, but much easier.
That's true.
I've got a couple of mates who can bowl, I would say, very passable left arm spin and a right arm bowlers. But and I've watched one of them bowl in a league game, and he got hit absolutely miles. He bowled a left arm drag down, and it got hit over the high netting, and then over the house that the high netting protects.
Good, nice.
And I don't think he's done it in the game since. But are we about to see an avalanche of it? It doesn't strike me as the kind of thing that you could just pick up now from having watched Ben Kellaway. Kamindu Mendes did it a few years ago. Marie Kelly in the women's game has done it.
Yeah.
So it is out there, but I think it requires an extreme set of skills for a start, an extreme hand-eye coordination. And I guess the other thing is, I don't really know. I always feel like the thing with all three of those, Kellaway, Mendes, and Kelly, and I don't know if this is an actual point or not, or just a coincidence, but I think I'm right in saying they're all sort of predominantly batters, aren't they? Who've
maybe. So you're saying it's more like rather than honing your specialist craft, you're like, I might as well give this a go.
It feels a bit like it feels like when you've got, let's say you might be able. It feels like the kind of thing that happens because you already bowl passable off spin, let's say, and then you might just have the hand eye that you're one of those guys like Jofra Archer who's able to, who from what we've seen bowls, handy enough left arm spin himself. And you toy around the nets, you have some fun. But as you say, it's not your primary skill. In my head, I feel like if you were predominantly a specialist bowler, you spend all of your time perfecting that one skill, because that one skill is what gets you into the team. So actually, if you were to split that in half, I don't know if it would harm your development.
It really taps into.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
I don't know if that's right. It's just a thought.
I have no idea. I think it's a good temptation to be like, as you said, if you were bowling right arm spin and you are a right arm spinner, you'd be like, I don't want to sacrifice my development here, because even if you mention his batters, Liam Livingstone, of course, is also an all rounder who his primary skill was batting that he's developed his second and third string with the ball. It does play into. I've always thought so. One of my strongest, most strongly held cricketing beliefs that I know is false is that if you bowl left arm finger spin and you're not a professional cricketer, you're a failure. There's absolutely no reason why you should ever bowl a bad ball. You have control of the ball or turn the ball away from the right hander and just bowl at the stumps. So I've long wanted to just have a career mode with myself and just see how far can you go if you learn how to bowl left arm finger spin over a winter. And this is what Ben Kellaway has reignited the fire in me. And so when the county conversation comes back in 2025, I will be signing a
Follow
7-day rookie contract for the Metro Bank as a left arm spinner, and you can have me on as a guest rather than a host. Anyway,
what I do find, what I would find, what I would add on, this is not a criticism of Callaway at all, but
yeah, it sounds like it's about to be.
You can tell, you can tell which one is his natural suit.
Oh, but that's just cruel. It's just being picky. You're being picky.
No, because what like it's sort of just like plays into how interesting it is. Like it's obviously a real. I'm just trying to think of the answer to your question before about we're about to see an avalanche. This I feel like the answer purely on like a physical, biological skill hand-eye level is no. Like
okay,
I cannot throw a ball with my right arm. I can barely kick a ball with my right foot. But I guess if you could do both, and there are a lot of blokes on the circuit who, ironically actually, a lot of left arm spinners who throw the ball right-handed. If you could, just off the top of my head, Jack Leach, Sam Patel being two, Tamar Mills, not right arm, not a spinner, but throws right arm.
George Lloyd for Spencer Twos.
He'll be chuffed to got a mention. But I don't know. There is, there's obviously a lot of benefits. If we take the matchup thing, take the matchups and Moeen not getting a bowl at certain World Cup games, for example. If Josh Butler could have gone to Moeen and said, "No, mate, like we don't fancy bowling." Yeah, like you don't need to pick. Is it 4 overs per arm?
That'd be so good. I think it'd be very important. You want to have like different cricket info and different play cricket profiles so you could track yourself. Anyway, that's plenty of enough of Ben Kellaway.
Disagree. I don't think there can ever be enough of I really actually, having read the Rich Edwards interview, which was a few weeks before this happened, I absolutely adored social media losing its mind when it happened. Because by that point I knew it was a thing because I'd read the piece. But watching,
give it a rest. So you saw one piece in a newspaper, so no one else is allowed to find it.
No, not at all. I just thought it was really funny the way that, not even that I knew. It was just like it was lovely watching the whole cricket community in real time be like, oh my god, because I can't remember who tweeted it, but one of the cricket journalists.
It was the Metro Bank 1-day cup.
No, but there was a good tweet. I think it was Lawrence Booth who said this is so unusual to see in England, and that I thought was a really good point because things like this do happen. But and as we mentioned, Marie Kelly before.
Sri Lanka. Doesn't happen anywhere. This is the point.
But you'd see it in I don't know. It doesn't feel like the kind of skill that in England you try and get people to learn. So I've never seen anyone club cricket do it. Well, no, sorry, apart from the guy I played with, George Lloyd.
I think this is the point that no one does it anywhere, and that's why we can literally list Mendes, Mary Kelly, and Kellaway as the 3 who can do it. Anyway, congratulations to Ben Kellaway. Yeah, you never know. What would be quite funny is if his left arms just turn out to be terrible, and he always bowls with right hand. But that's not the point. This is the end of the show. Nick, this is the end of the show. No more.
The best bit, like he never has to take another wicket with one of those hands. He's done one. He can always say he's got one.
Right. Nobody covers county cricket like the cricketer, and you can take that however you wish to be honest.
That's really quite a geek. It's actually quite a geeky episode, that, isn't it?
Blimey. Right. You can get coverage from all 18 teams for as little as £3.99 a month. If this episode has potentially persuaded you to do that, there's notes and ways to do it, links in the show notes. Do subscribe. Nick Friend, thank you very much. I've been your host, Cameron Ponsonby. James Rew, thank you very much for coming on the show. And we'll be back next week with more Metro Bank drama.